The arrival. The sleek, silver craft shuddered as it pierced Earth's atmosphere. Inside, Commander Zixra of the Galactic Exploration Fleet gripped her control panel, her four eyes widening in alarm. Warning lights flashed across the ship's bridge, bathing the alien crew in an ominous red glow. Status report. Zixra barked, her translator converting her clicks and whistles into standardized galactic common. Science Officer Vreen's tentacles flew over his console. Commander, the planet's gravity is far stronger than our initial scans indicated. Our engines can't compensate. Impossible, Zixra muttered. Their mission was supposed to be a routine survey of an uninhabited Deathworld. Just another tick on the vast star chart of the Galactic Confederation. Earth had been classified as a Class X planet. Extreme temperatures, volatile weather patterns, and an atmosphere toxic to most known life forms. It wasn't supposed to fight back. The ship bucked again, and a horrible screeching sound filled the air. Zixra felt her exoskeleton tighten in fear. Hull breach in the lower decks, Engineer Krell announced, his bioluminescent patches flashing in distress. We're losing altitude fast. Zixra made a split-second decision. Engage emergency landing protocols. Aim for that clearing in the green sector. The crew worked frantically, their six-limbed bodies moving in a choreographed dance of desperation. The ship's AI chimed in with a maddeningly calm voice. Impact in 10, 9, 8. Zixra closed her inner eyelids, bracing for impact. This wasn't how she imagined her first command would go. 3, 2, 1. The world exploded into chaos. The ship slammed into the earth with bone-jarring force, skidding across the ground and leaving a trail of broken trees and scorched earth in its wake. When it finally came to a stop, an eerie silence fell over the forest clearing. Inside the ship, Zixra slowly uncurled from her protective posture. Sound off, she croaked. One by one, her crew responded. Miraculously, they had all survived the crash, battered and bruised, but alive. Damage report, Zixra ordered, forcing herself to focus on the task at hand. Krell's voice was grim. It's bad, Commander. The main engine is completely fried. Life support is running on auxiliary power, but... He trailed off. But what, Engineer? But we're leaking atmosphere. Fast. The ship wasn't designed to withstand this planet's corrosive air. We have maybe 48 hours before our air supply is compromised. Zixra felt a wave of despair wash over her, but she pushed it aside. She was responsible for her crew. She had to be strong. Vreen, what can you tell me about our surroundings? The science officer's tentacles waved nervously. It's not good, Commander. The air outside is a toxic soup of nitrogen and oxygen. The gravity is crushing. And the temperature? He shuddered. It's over 293 degrees Kelvin. Zixra's exoskeleton nearly cracked from shock. How could anything survive in such heat? What about life forms? She asked, dreading the answer. Vreen consulted his instruments. Inconclusive. There's too much interference from the crash. But given the conditions, it's highly unlikely anything could. He was cut off by a piercing alarm. Proximity alert, the ship's AI announced. Unknown entities approaching from the west. The crew froze, their alien faces contorted in a mixture of fear and disbelief. They watched on the view screen as a group of bizarre creatures emerged from the tree line. They walked on two legs, had only two arms, and were covered in some kind of artificial exoskeleton. Impossible, Vreen whispered. No carbon-based life form could survive these conditions. It must be some kind of autonomous drone. But as the creatures drew closer, it became clear that they were very much alive. They gestured to each other, communicating in some unknown way. One of them pointed at the ship, its mouth opening to reveal a row of blunt teeth. They're sentient, Zixra realized with growing awe and terror. This planet, it's inhabited. The aliens huddled together, watching as the humans approached their crashed ship. Everything they thought they knew about the universe had just been turned upside down. Somehow, against all odds, life had not only survived on this death world, it had thrived. As the first human pressed a hand against the ship's hull, Zixra made another decision. "Prepare first contact protocols," she ordered. "We're about to meet the impossible." The crew looked at her in shock, but moved to obey. None of them had been prepared for this. Their mission had just changed from a simple survey to something much more profound. They were about to make history. Zixra took a deep breath of her rapidly dwindling air supply. Whatever happened next would change the course of galactic history forever. She only hoped they would survive long enough to tell the tale. As the ship's airlock began to cycle open, Zixra steeled herself. The humans waited on the other side, their strange, flat faces a mystery. In that moment, standing on the precipice of the unknown, Zixra realized a fundamental truth. The galaxy was far more wondrous and terrifying than anyone had ever imagined. And humanity, these impossible beings who called this death world home, were about to take their place on the galactic stage. The airlock door slid open with a hiss, and two worlds collided. First contact. The airlock hissed open, releasing a cloud of alien atmosphere into the Earth's air. Commander Zixra stood at the threshold, her four eyes blinking rapidly to adjust to the harsh sunlight. Behind her, the rest of the crew huddled anxiously, their protective suits barely shielding them from what they perceived as a hostile environment. Before them stood a group of humans, their expressions a mix of awe and apprehension. For a moment, both sides simply stared at each other, the weight of this historic moment hanging in the air between them. Zixra took a cautious step forward, her translator working overtime to analyze the sounds coming from the humans. One of them, a tall figure with dark skin and curly hair, stepped forward to meet her. "Welcome to Earth," the human said, his voice deep and resonant. "I'm Dr. Aiden Carter, xenobiologist. Are you in need of assistance?" Zixra's translator crackled to life, converting the human speech into something she could understand. She marveled at how quickly it had adapted to this new language. "Greetings, Dr. Aiden Carter," Zixra replied, her own voice sounding strange through the translator. "I am Commander Zixra of the Galactic Exploration Fleet. We are in dire need of help." As if on cue, the ship behind them groaned ominously. Engineer Krell rushed to Zixra's side. "Commander, the hull integrity is failing faster than anticipated. We have less than 24 hours before total collapse." Dr. Carter's eyes widened. He turned to his colleagues, speaking rapidly in their native tongue. Zixra's translator struggled to keep up, catching phrases like emergency protocols and containment procedures. "Commander," Dr. Carter said, turning back to Zixra, "we need to evacuate your crew immediately. Our facility isn't far from here. We can provide shelter and medical assistance if needed." Zixra hesitated. Every instinct screamed at her to stay with the ship, to protect the wealth of scientific data and advanced technology it contained. But one look at her crew's terrified faces made the decision for her. "We accept your offer, Dr. Carter," she said, "but I must warn you, our biology is very different from yours. We find your atmosphere challenging." Dr. Carter nodded gravely. "We'll do everything we can to accommodate your needs. Please, follow me." As they trudged through the forest, Zixra couldn't help but marvel at the lush vegetation surrounding them. Every step brought new wonders. The feel of soft earth beneath her feet, the rustle of leaves in the wind, the cacophony of alien wildlife. "How?" she finally asked, unable to contain her curiosity any longer. "How is all of this possible?" "Our scans indicated that this planet was uninhabitable." Dr. Carter chuckled. "Earth may seem harsh to you, but it's the only home we've ever known. We've adapted to its challenges over millions of years of evolution." Vreen, the science officer, piped up from behind. "But the oxygen levels alone should be toxic. And the temperature. How do you not cook in your own exoskeletons?" "We don't have exoskeletons," another human, a shorter female with almond-shaped eyes, explained, "I'm Dr. Yuki Tanaka, by the way. Our bodies regulate temperature internally, and oxygen is actually essential for our survival." The aliens exchanged bewildered looks. Everything they thought they knew about the limits of life in the universe was being challenged with each passing moment. As they crested a hill, a large compound came into view. Sleek buildings of glass and steel stood in stark contrast to the natural beauty around them. Zixra noticed several dishes and antennae pointed skyward. "Welcome to the International Xenobiology Research Center," Dr. Carter announced proudly. "We've been searching the stars for signs of life for decades. Never did we imagine first contact would happen in our own backyard." The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. The alien crew was ushered into a hastily prepared quarantine area, complete with atmospheric scrubbers that attempted to recreate the conditions aboard their ship. Human scientists scurried about, taking readings and muttering excitedly to each other. Zixra watched it all with a mixture of gratitude and unease. These humans were undoubtedly trying to help, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she and her crew were now specimens in a vast experiment. As the adrenaline of their crash landing and subsequent rescue began to wear off, the reality of their situation started to sink in. They were stranded on an alien world, surrounded by creatures that defied everything they thought they knew about the universe. "Commander," Krell approached her, his voice low. "I've been running some calculations. Even if we could repair the ship, which is unlikely given the damage and our limited resources, we don't have enough fuel to break free of this planet's gravity well." Zixra felt her heart sink. "So we're trapped here," she said, more a statement than a question. "It appears so," Krell confirmed grimly. Just then, Dr. Carter entered their quarantine area, his face beaming with excitement. "Commander, I hope you and your crew are feeling more comfortable now. We have so many questions for you, if you're feeling up to it." Zixra straightened her posture, forcing her fear and uncertainty down. She was still the commander, still responsible for her crew. They would face this new reality together. "Of course, Dr. Carter," she said, "but we have questions of our own. Perhaps we could engage in a cultural exchange." Dr. Carter's smile widened. "Nothing would please me more, Commander." As they settled in for what promised to be a long and enlightening conversation, Zixra couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. Yes, they were stranded on this death world. Yes, they faced challenges they could never have imagined. But these humans, these impossible beings, had survived and thrived here. Perhaps with their help, Zixra and her crew could do the same. The conversation stretched late into the night. The aliens learned of humanity's long and often tumultuous history, of their triumphs and failures, their dreams of the stars and their struggles on their home planet. In turn, Zixra shared tales of the vast galactic confederation, of worlds and wonders beyond human imagination. As the Earth's sun began to peek over the horizon, bathing the compound in golden light, Zixra realized something profound. They had come to this planet expecting to find a barren wasteland. Instead, they had found life, intelligence, and a spirit of curiosity that matched their own. They had found kindred spirits in the vastness of space, on a world they had dismissed as uninhabitable. As she watched the sunrise with her new human allies, Zixra understood that their adventure was only just beginning. The impossible planet called Earth had more surprises in store for them. And Zixra, despite the danger and uncertainty, found herself looking forward to discovering them all. Learning to adapt. Days turned into weeks as Zixra and her crew settled into their new routine at the International Xenobiology Research Center. The initial shock of their crash landing had given way to a cautious curiosity about their new surroundings and the strange beings who called this planet home. Engineer Krall spent most of his time poring over the wreckage of their ship, salvaging what he could and marveling at the ingenuity of human technology. Though primitive by Galactic Confederation standards, he found an elegant simplicity in human engineering that both frustrated and inspired him. "Commander," Krall reported one morning, his bioluminescent patches pulsing with excitement. You won't believe what these humans have accomplished with such limited resources. Their computers are archaic by our standards, yet they've managed to launch satellites, explore their own solar system, and even land crewed probes on other planets. Zixra nodded, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence as she processed this information. It seems we may have underestimated these beings, Krell. What of our own technology? Any progress on repairs? Krell's glow dimmed slightly. I'm afraid not, Commander. The damage is too extensive, and we lack the specialized materials needed for proper repairs. However, his patches brightened again. I've been collaborating with the human engineers. They're eager to learn, and their perspectives have been surprisingly helpful. Meanwhile, Science Officer Vreen had thrown himself into studying Earth's bewildering array of life forms. Each day brought new discoveries that challenged everything he thought he knew about biology. It's extraordinary, Commander. Vreen gushed, his tentacles waving in excitement. The sheer diversity of life on this planet is unparalleled. From microscopic bacteria to enormous land mammals, the range of adaptations is staggering. And the humans, their ability to thrive in such varied environments is nothing short of miraculous. Zixra listened to her crew's reports with a mixture of pride and concern. Their scientific curiosity was admirable, but she couldn't shake the nagging worry about their future. They were still, for all intents and purposes, stranded on an alien world. Dr. Carter and his team had been more than accommodating, working tirelessly to create a comfortable environment for their extraterrestrial guests. They had even begun construction on a more permanent habitat that could sustain the aliens' unique atmospheric needs for extended periods. But Zixra knew they couldn't stay in the research center forever. Sooner or later, they would have to face the wider world and the billions of humans who called Earth home. One afternoon, as Zixra was reviewing data on human social structures, Dr. Carter approached her with an unusual proposal. Commander, he said, his voice filled with barely contained excitement, we've received an invitation from the United Nations. They want to meet you and your crew. Zixra's exoskeleton tightened involuntarily. The United Nations. Is this your world government? Dr. Carter chuckled. Not exactly. It's more of a forum for international cooperation, but this meeting could be crucial for your future here on Earth. It's an opportunity to establish formal diplomatic relations. Zixra considered this carefully. It was a huge step, one that would irrevocably change the course of both human and galactic Confederation history. But did they have a choice? Very well, Dr. Carter, she said finally. We would be honored to accept this invitation. The next few days were a flurry of preparation. The aliens had to be fitted with portable atmospheric converters, a joint project between Krell and the human engineers. Vreen worked with Dr. Tanaka to prepare a comprehensive biological brief, hoping to allay any fears about potential contamination. And Zixra spent hours in cultural briefings, trying to wrap her 4-lobed brain around the complexities of human politics and etiquette. The day of the meeting arrived all too soon. As their transport flew towards New York City, Zixra gazed out the window in awe. The sprawling metropolis below was unlike anything she had ever seen, a testament to humanity's ability to reshape their environment to suit their needs. The United Nations headquarters loomed before them, a towering spire of glass and steel. As they descended, Zixra noticed the crowds gathered outside, held back by barriers and security forces. News of their arrival had spread, and it seemed the whole world was watching. Inside, they were ushered into a vast chamber filled with representatives from nations across the globe. The room fell silent as Zixra and her crew entered, all eyes fixed on the alien visitors. Taking a deep breath, Zixra stepped up to the podium. Her translator hummed to life, ready to convey her words to the assembled humans. Esteemed representatives of Earth, she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. I stand before you as a representative of the Galactic Confederation. We came to your world believing it uninhabitable, a harsh and unforgiving place. We were wrong. She paused, looking out over the sea of faces, so alien, yet now becoming familiar. In the short time we have been here, we have witnessed the incredible resilience, ingenuity, and spirit of humanity. You have survived and thrived on a world that, by all our previous understanding, should have been impossible to inhabit. In doing so, you have challenged everything we thought we knew about the limits of life in the universe. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, a mix of pride and uncertainty. We find ourselves stranded on your world, unable to return to our own. We come before you now not as conquerors or even as visitors, but as refugees seeking asylum. We offer our knowledge, our technology, and our perspective in exchange for your hospitality and protection. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, questions flying from all directions. Zixra stood firm, her exoskeleton gleaming under the bright lights. This was just the beginning of a long and complex negotiation, she knew. But as she looked out at the curious, cautious, but ultimately welcoming faces before her, she felt a surge of hope. Humanity, with all its flaws and complexities, had proven itself to be far more adaptable and resilient than the Galactic Confederation had ever imagined. Perhaps, Zixra thought, her own people could learn a thing or two from these remarkable beings. As the questions continued to flow, Zixra allowed herself a small gesture of satisfaction, the equivalent of a human smile. They had come to Earth expecting to find a dead world. Instead, they had found a new home, teeming with life and possibility. The road ahead would be challenging, filled with cultural misunderstandings, technological hurdles, and political complications. But Zixra and her crew were ready to face those challenges head-on, armed with their newfound respect for humanity's incredible ability to adapt and persevere. As the session stretched into the night, one thing became clear. The arrival of Zixra and her crew had changed everything. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and Earth, once dismissed as a hostile backwater, was about to take its place on the galactic stage. The age of isolation was over. A new era of cooperation, exploration, and mutual discovery was just beginning. And at the heart of it all was the impossible planet called Earth, a world that had not only sustained life, but had forged it into something truly extraordinary. Unexpected alliance. Months had passed since Zixra and her crew's fateful crash landing on Earth. The initial excitement of first contact had given way to the complex reality of integrating an alien species into human society. Progress was slow, often frustrating, but steady. Zixra stood at the window of her new office in the newly established Galactic Relations Building in Geneva, her 4 eyes taking in the bustling city below. She had been appointed as the official ambassador of the Galactic Confederation to Earth, a role she approached with equal parts determination and trepidation. A gentle chime interrupted her thoughts. "Ambassador," her human assistant's voice came through the intercom. "The UN Security Council is requesting an emergency meeting. They say it's urgent." Zixra felt her exoskeleton tighten with concern. "I'm on my way," she replied, already moving towards the door. The tension in the council chamber was palpable as Zixra entered. Dr. Carter, now serving as Earth's liaison to the Galactic Confederation, greeted her with a grim nod. "Ambassador Zixra," the UN Secretary-General began, her voice tight with worry. "We've received disturbing news. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected a large object on a direct course for Earth. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." Zixra's heart raced. "May I see the data?" As the holographic display flickered to life, Zixra felt a chill run through her body. The object was massive, easily the size of a small moon. Its surface was a maze of geometric patterns, clearly artificial in nature. "By the stars," she whispered, "it's a harvester." The room fell silent, all eyes turning to the alien ambassador. "A harvester?" Dr. Carter asked, breaking the silence. Zixra nodded gravely. "A cosmic predator, for lack of a better term. It travels the galaxy, seeking out worlds rich in resources. It descends upon planets, strip-mining them of everything valuable, leaving nothing but barren husks in its wake. The color drained from the faces of the human officials. How do we stop it? The U.S. representative demanded. Zixra's upper eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of deep distress in her species. I had 'em know. The Confederation has only encountered harvesters twice in our recorded history. Both times, we were forced to evacuate the targeted planets. We've never successfully repelled one. The room erupted into chaos, voices shouting over one another in panic and anger. Zixra stood still, her mind racing. Earth, with its incredible diversity of life and resources, would be irresistible to the harvester. And unlike the worlds of the Confederation, humanity had nowhere else to go. Enough. Dr. Carter's voice cut through the din. Ambassador, there must be something we can do. You've seen what humanity is capable of. We don't give up easily. Zixra looked at the human scientist, seeing the determination in his eyes. She thought of all she had learned about humanity in the past months, their resilience, their ingenuity, their indomitable spirit. Perhaps, she said slowly, perhaps there is a way. But it would require a level of cooperation unprecedented in galactic history. Over the next weeks, Earth became a hive of frantic activity. The impending arrival of the harvester was kept secret from the general public to prevent panic, but every nation poured its resources into the defense effort. Krell worked tirelessly with human engineers, combining Confederation technology with Earth's most advanced weaponry. Vreen collaborated with biologists and environmental scientists, seeking ways to protect Earth's ecosystems from the harvester's devastating effects. Zixra found herself in endless meetings, coordinating the global response and serving as the link between human and alien knowledge. It was exhausting, often frustrating work, but she was constantly amazed by humanity's ability to come together in the face of existential threat. As the day of the harvester's arrival drew near, a plan began to take shape. It was audacious, perhaps even foolhardy, but it was the best hope they had. The plan hinged on a daring space mission. A team of human astronauts and Confederation aliens would pilot a hybrid craft to intercept the harvester before it reached Earth. They would attempt to infiltrate the massive construct and disable it from within. The night before the mission launch, Zixra stood on the roof of the Galactic Relations Building, gazing up at the stars. Dr. Carter joined her, his face itched with worry. "Do you think it will work?" he asked quietly. Zixra was silent for a long moment. "I don't know," she admitted finally. "But I do know this. If any species in the galaxy has a chance of succeeding, it's humanity." Dr. Carter chuckled softly. "You know, when we first met, I thought you saw us as some kind of primitive species." "I did," Zixra replied honestly. "But I've learned much since then. Your adaptability, your creativity, your sheer determination in the face of impossible odds. These are traits that the Confederation has lost over millennia of comfortable existence. Perhaps this crisis is a wake-up call for all of us." As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, they watched the hybrid ship launch into the sky, carrying the hopes of two civilizations with it. The next days were tense, filled with anxious waiting. The ship successfully intercepted the harvester, and the team managed to infiltrate its complex interior. But after that, communication became sporadic. Zixra barely slept, dividing her time between the Mission Control Center and meetings with world leaders. The atmosphere was tense, a mixture of hope and dread permeating every interaction. Then, just as it seemed all hope was lost, a message came through. It was garbled, distorted, but unmistakable. "We did it. The harvester is disabled. Earth is safe." The cheers that erupted in the control room were deafening. Zixra found herself engulfed in a very human group hug, her usual reservations forgotten in the joy of the moment. As the dust settled and the true magnitude of their victory became clear, Zixra realized that something fundamental had changed. Humanity and the Confederation had faced an unprecedented threat together and emerged victorious. The bonds forged in this crisis would not be easily broken. In the days that followed, as the heroic team was retrieved and debriefed, a new sense of possibility filled the air. Humanity had proven itself on the galactic stage, demonstrating a level of courage and ingenuity that impressed even the most skeptical members of the Confederation. Zixra stood once again at the window of her office, watching as crowds celebrated in the streets below. Earth was safe, yes, but more than that, it had found its place in the wider galaxy. And the Confederation, she realized, would never be the same. As night fell and the stars came out, Zixra allowed herself a moment of reflection. They had come to this death world, expecting to find nothing but hostility and danger. Instead, they had found allies, teachers, and friends. The impossible planet called Earth, it seemed, still had many lessons to teach the galaxy. A new perspective. A year had passed since the Harvester incident, and Earth was a changed world. The secret of the alien threat and humanity's triumph could not be contained for long, and the revelation had transformed global society. Nations that had once been bitter enemies now worked together in unprecedented cooperation, united by the knowledge that they were part of something far greater than their earthly squabbles. Zixra stood on the newly constructed observation deck of the International Space Station, marveling at the view of Earth below. The station had been expanded and upgraded with Confederation technology, serving as a symbol of the new alliance between humanity and the galactic community. "It never gets old, does it?" Dr. Carter said, floating up beside her. "No matter how many times I see it, Earth always takes my breath away." Zixra nodded, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "It is beautiful," she admitted. "I never thought I'd say that about a world we once classified as uninhabitable." Dr. Carter chuckled. "We do tend to defy expectations." Their conversation was interrupted by a chime from Zixra's communication device. "Ambassador," a voice said, "the Confederation Council is ready for your report." "Thank you," Zixra replied. She turned to Dr. Carter. "Duby calls." In the station's new holographic chamber, Zixra found herself facing the projected images of the Confederation's highest-ranking officials. Their alien faces were a mix of curiosity and concern. "Ambassador Zixra," the council leader began, "we've received your preliminary reports on Earth and its inhabitants. Frankly, we find them hard to believe. Are you certain you haven't been influenced by your extended stay among the humans?" Zixra straightened, her exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber's lights. "Honored Council, I assure you that every word of my report is true. More than that, I believe that our encounter with humanity may be the most important event in Confederation history since our founding." Murmurs rippled through the council. Zixra continued, her voice growing passionate. "When we first arrived on Earth, we thought we had found nothing but a hostile, uninhabitable world. Instead, we discovered a species that has not only survived but thrived in conditions we thought impossible. Humanity's adaptability, their ingenuity, their indomitable spirit. These are qualities that the Confederation has lost over millennia of comfortable existence." She paused, letting her words sink in. "The defeat of the Harvester is proof of what humanity is capable of. With nothing but primitive technology and sheer determination, they managed to do what our entire civilization has failed to do twice before." "But surely," another council member interjected, "this victory was only possible because of our technology." Zixra shook her head. "Our technology played a part, yes. But it was human creativity that found a way to use that technology in ways we never imagined. It was human courage that led them to risk everything to save their world. And it was the human ability to unite in the face of a common threat that made the entire operation possible." She took a deep breath. "Honored Council, I propose that we offer Earth full membership in the Galactic Confederation, effective immediately." The chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. Full membership for a species that had only just discovered interstellar travel was unprecedented. "Ambassador," the council leader said, his voice stern, What you're proposing goes against all our protocols and traditions." "With all due respect, leader," Zixra replied, "perhaps it's time for those protocols and traditions to change. The galaxy is evolving. The Harvester proved that there are threats out there that we are ill-equipped to face alone. Humanity has shown that they have much to offer the Confederation, and I believe we have much to learn from them in return." The debate raged for hours. Zixra stood firm, presenting evidence of human achievements, arguing passionately for their potential. Finally, exhausted but triumphant, she received the Council's decision. Earth would be granted provisional membership in the Galactic Confederation, with a path to full membership pending further evaluation. As the holographic projections faded, Zixra felt a wave of relief wash over her. She had done it. Earth and humanity would have their chance to prove themselves on the galactic stage. Dr. Carter was waiting for her outside the chamber, his face eager. "Well, how did it go?" Zixra allowed herself the equivalent of a human smile. "Prepare yourself, Dr. Carter. Your world is about to become a lot bigger." The news of Earth's acceptance into the Galactic Confederation spread quickly, sparking celebrations across the globe. But for Zixra and her crew, it marked the beginning of a new chapter. In the months that followed, Earth became a hub of galactic activity. Confederation scientists flocked to study the planet's unique ecosystems and the remarkable adaptability of its dominant species. Human innovations in fields ranging from medicine to engineering began to spread throughout the galaxy, sparking a renaissance of creativity and progress. But perhaps the most profound change was in the Confederation itself. Inspired by humanity's example, other member species began to rediscover their own capacity for adaptation and innovation. The once stagnant Confederation was infused with new energy and purpose. 1 year to the day after the Harvester's defeat, Zixra stood before the United Nations General Assembly. The chamber was packed, with representatives from every nation on Earth and observers from across the galaxy in attendance. "Distinguished representatives," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast hall. "A year ago, I stood before you as a refugee from a distant star, seeking asylum on a world we had dismissed as uninhabitable. Today, I stand before you as a proud ally, representing a galaxy that has been forever changed by its encounter with humanity." She paused, looking out over the sea of faces, human and alien alike. "We came to Earth expecting to find a harsh, unforgiving world. Instead, we found a planet teeming with life, populated by a species whose resilience and spirit have inspired an entire galaxy. You have reminded us of what it means to strive, to innovate, to reach for the stars not because it is easy, but because it is hard." Zixra's voice swelled with emotion. "The road ahead will not be easy. There will be challenges, misunderstandings, and conflicts to overcome. But I have seen what humanity is capable of when united by a common purpose, and I have faith that together, we can build a future brighter than any of us could have imagined." As applause thundered through the chamber, Zixra felt a profound sense of gratitude. Her misfortune, a crash landing on a supposedly uninhabitable world, had led to the greatest discovery of her life. She had found not just a new home, but a new purpose, a new perspective on the vast and wondrous galaxy they all shared. Outside the UN building, the New York skyline glittered in the evening light, and high above, barely visible in the darkening sky, a new star seemed to twinkle, the first of many Confederation ships arriving to welcome Earth to the galactic community. The impossible planet called Earth, once dismissed as a death world, had taken its place among the stars, and the galaxy would never be the same again.